check with your check with your medical professional, your doctor, your counselor, your therapist, whoever it is, before you do anything based on what is being shared here. Right. With that, first question. First, this is a quote that I like a lot, and it says it very, very succinctly, very nicely, that we are what we repeatedly do. But the operative part for me is that it's not that we act rightly because we are virtuous or that we have excellence. We are considered to be virtuous or that we are excellent only when we have acted rightly. And this is a translation from the original Greek of Aristotle. So the person who translated it called it rightly. I think a word that sits better with me is, I'll read this quote out a little differently. Excellence is an art won by training and habituation. So we need to train and we need to habituate ourselves. We do not act rightly. We do not act appropriately because we have virtue or excellence, but we rather have those because we've acted appropriately. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So I'm going to share something that might throw some light in terms of how it is possible for us to live life a little better, a little easier than we are. And as always, it is open to debate. We can talk about it. We can ask questions as well. So, simple question. What does emotional and social wellness mean to you? Because if you have taken the time to log in today, it's probably because you want to know what it is and you'd like to get some inputs, or you'd like to verify whether what you're doing is appropriate. Regardless, if you can just type out your answers in the chat box, if you can, that'll be very, very nice. What does emotional and social wellness mean to you? Or you can unmute yourself and give your answers. Am I audible?
Yes, Jane.
Yeah, okay, because I didn't see any responses, so I was a little concerned whether I was being heard at all. So that's okay. So Sumana says ability to express and experience right emotions in all situations. Lovely. Okay, so again, what do you think of multitasking? Because I think Women's Day, I've got quite a few messages today about multitasking and how women are supposed to be great at it and that they excel at it. And I'd like to know the thoughts of those here, what you think of this concept of multitasking. Seems to be a slow afternoon today. Ability to perform more than one task in a period of time. Okay. And so I'm going to rain on people's parade because technically it's not possible to do more than one thing at a time. What we are actually doing is we are switch tasking. We are switching between tasks and we are doing it so rapidly that it seems like we're doing more than one thing at a time. And there are jokes and cartoons that I've seen about how men and women cook, right? And how multiple dishes are being handled at the same time, while certain people do just one dish at a time. I think even there, what we are doing is not multitasking, we are switch tasking. And there's a lot of planning that goes into that switch tasking as well. One of the things that I'd like people to understand is that multitasking is a myth. And research proves that you do one task, you do it well. You do more than one thing at a time. The effectiveness and the efficiency and the usefulness of the tasks, all tasks suffer. There have been enough and more experiments and research that's been done on this, including people driving and speaking on the phone, people driving and texting, all those things that are quite dangerous and we know it's not useful. Similarly, I think it is better to focus on one task at a time for a certain period of time. And that you will get actually better benefit from doing that than doing multiple things at the same time. So, some people who have participated in earlier programs will recognize this picture, right? Multitasking is a little like this, trying to find something in this kind of a desk. Multitasking means that there is a lot of energy that goes into rework, into doing almost the same things or not doing it right. Just this afternoon, I was making myself something to eat, and I was trying to do things at one time, and I ended up dropping a lot of stuff on the kitchen floor. It was about 45 minutes ago. And what it led to was I had to clean up the kitchen. I had to clean up, and it would have been easier if I'd just done one thing at a time. So sometimes we are like the table on the left, our minds are like the table on the left. There are so many things that are going on in our head. However, if we can have this kind of a mind, if we can have this kind of a workplace, if we can focus on one thing at a time, chances are that each and every one of the things that we do, we will do a better job. So how does one move from the clutter that we have that is part of regular life, right? There are so many things that are happening to us, some that we have planned, some that are foisted on us, some ad hoc emergencies, and the whims and fancies of others as well take over what it is that affects us. So how do we move from one to the other? A very simple thing, again, people who participated before will understand that this is something that I've shared before. It's a simple thing and yet very effective. So I call it the SILSA. SILSA is something that is key to emotional and social wellness. It is all about being present in the moment. It is about being in the activity with the people that we are with at that point in time. The opposite of this is being physically present, but not mentally or in terms of spirit, not being in the presence of the people that we are with. And this has further got exacerbated, and it has got worse today with a lot of work from home and video kind of meetings, because there are notifications that come up all the time. There are various things that happen, and not being able to see somebody because video is not on. We don't know what's going on. We don't know whether the people are there 100%. So if you look at what is going on, you look at SILSA is a short form, is about clearing up the clutter in one's head and being present in the moment with the people. This one simple thing can make all the difference in terms of both emotional and social wellness. Whether it does emotional wellness or not, it definitely will do a lot to your social wellness, because people will feel your presence. They will understand that you're here in body, mind, and spirit. Right. So what does the SILSA stand for? It stands for, scanning. It's like a table, the table that you saw here, right? If you have to, you can't just throw away everything that is there. If you need to make this table on the left into the kind of table that you have on the right, what you need to do is to actually look at everything that is on the table there, segregate it, and put it away depending on when and how often you want to access it or when you want to action it. Exactly the same thing that we're going to do with regard to the thoughts that we have in our mind. We're going to scan all the thoughts that are running in the background or in the foreground. What is it that's going on right now? And I'm going to share a little more about this in about 3 to 4 minutes. Then identify those thoughts about the situations, the emotions, or the feelings that might keep me from being balanced, being present here. That I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about something else that's going on. Or, I've had a not a very nice interaction with somebody, and I get into another meeting or I get into something else, and I'm still there. So what happens is that I'm now running the risk of having two bad meetings or two bad situations because I'm still in the earlier situation. So identify all those thoughts about situations, emotions, and feelings that can keep you from being present and being balanced. And then labeling the emotion or the feeling that you are experiencing. Labeling it gives it a shape and a form. I'm not feeling okay is very different from I'm feeling disappointed with myself. I'm feeling disappointed with this person. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling let down. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling astonished that, something like this has happened. Both, sometimes being too much in the positive is also not very useful, because people have made wrong calls, wrong decisions because they were in a state of euphoria. So anytime being in the present appropriate to the situation is extremely useful. So labeling the emotion or the feeling will give you that control over what it is that's being experienced, and it will give you a shape and form for what it is that you're going through. And then to set it aside, it's just like the table that you saw there. You know what? I'm going to set it aside here until I have any use for it. These are things that I don't have any use for. It's past the use by time. I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to throw it away into the dustbin. Same thing with your thoughts as well. And you can actually say, you know what, I'm scanning. And we do this in a cycle. You scan, identify, label, set aside. Scan, identify, label, set aside. Scan, identify, label, set aside, till your mind is clear and you can say, you know what, I can be 100% present in whatever it is that I'm doing right now. And finally, you say, you know what, now I've got a clean mind, I've got a clean table, I've got a clean workspace, whatever it is. Those of you who do work in the kitchen, you know very well that when you have your kitchen organized the way you'd like to, life is so much simpler. When you have your workplace organized the way you'd like to, and everything in its place, and you are able to access it, you are so much more effective. You're so much more better prepared, and you don't have surprises, the nasty kind especially, right? So a support for you to understand this labeling of the emotion. Many people, I find in the work that I do with people, that they are not very comfortable. They have not trained themselves to go within to find out what exactly they're experiencing. It is a natural tendency that we have evolutionarily, that whenever we find something that is not nice, we have a natural tendency, evolutionarily, all beings, we have a tendency to distract ourselves by doing something, but not, it's like, evolutionarily, you'd have to understand the roots of this. I'm 100,000 years ago, walking in the savannah, or in the, looking for an apple or something to eat. And suddenly I see some predator that's running after me. I'm not going to be, I have these negative emotions. There is adrenaline that pumps in, fear. All of that is there for a purpose. It's to kickstart me and to get me rolling so that I can avoid being killed and eaten. So more often than not, whenever we have these negative emotions, we have a tendency to do something, right? Unfortunately, the brain hasn't evolved that much, even though the threats have become a little different. Every threat that we experience today is also experienced by the same parts of the brain that we used to experience it 100,000 years ago. So labeling the emotion, and there are nuanced emotions that human beings have that other animals don't have. So it's very useful for us to understand, not just to do the SILSA, but even to get control over what it is that you're experiencing and being able to handle it better. Because if you go to a doctor and you tell the doctor, I'm not feeling well, the doctor is going to ask you questions. So what is it that you're feeling? What is it that's happening? Where is the pain? Where is the discomfort? What's going on? Because without that, the doctor can't treat the patient. Similarly, here, if we are able to diagnose and actually find to a certain level of granularity what it is that we are actually feeling, we are better equipped to choose the right kind of tools, the right kind of behaviors, the right kind of support systems to help us handle what it is that we are experiencing. So this requires that we need to have awareness of what we are experiencing. And second, more important, that we have to accept, because we can't live in denial. If I have a stomach ache and I say, no, I don't have a stomach ache, it's not going to go away, right? If I have a headache, the best thing that I can do is to accept that I have a headache, and then I can do something about it. So anywhere in life, if I do not have the awareness or the acceptance of what it is that I'm experiencing, what it is that's happening, what is the situation, the reality of what it is, chances are that it would be very difficult to make progress consistently and, more importantly, predictably. There is a study that was done by Daniel Goleman, the Dalai Lama, Richard Davidson, and a whole lot of people, Paul Ekman and all of them. And they concluded that what human beings experience, we experience 34,000 different physiological sensations, feelings, biochemical balances, blends that exist within the body that can be classified as feelings or emotions, 34,000 of them. And the most aware and most articulate people are able to barely find 12 of them that they can express as what it is that they're feeling. Like I said, labeling the emotion is very, very useful. And there's been some exceptional work done by a lady called Gloria Wilcox. She's created two things. There is an app also. You're going to see that on the next slide. This is a feeling wheel. If you look at it, there are seven predominant feelings: sad, peaceful, powerful, joyful, scared, and mad. So these are the core feelings, and the grossest or the largest level feelings. And then you can go into one level. You say, okay, I'm scared. So am I feeling rejected? Am I feeling confused? Am I feeling helpless? Am I feeling submissive, insecure, or anxious? And then we can go out and say, okay, in this thing, am I feeling rejected or am I feeling bewildered? And so on and so forth. You get the drift. This will help you even in doing the SILSA and even otherwise to help you understand. There are some wonderful apps that are available on the site, allthefields.app. There are two things that you can access. One is the feeling wheel, and the other is the next one, which is the emotion wheel. Here you will understand that we are talking about feelings, which are the gross physiological sensations, so to say. The emotional nomenclature that we give are given here. You'll find the same thing. Angry. Within that, you're actually got, I'm feeling let down. Within that, am I feeling betrayed or am I feeling resentful? Completely different. If I feel betrayed and I'm feeling resentful, they are completely different. Betrayed is, oh my God, how could somebody do this to me? Resentful is a lot of anger. So one is passive, the other is active, right? There is no question of which is better, which is not. So being able to find out a nuanced view, a granular view of what the emotion is that I'm feeling, that I'm experiencing, will be useful and help you. It'll help you right through. So this is a resource that you can use at an appropriate time whenever you feel it is useful. So, like they say in the aircraft, right? When there is a drop in cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the panel in front of you. Please pull the mask and place it over your mouth and nose and breathe normally. And then they say something very, very interesting. They say, please place your mask and you take care of yourself before you help others, infants or others in need. I think one of the most important things about social and emotional wellness is, first and foremost, you need to be able to take care of yourself. I need to take care of myself before I can support anybody. Even if I don't take care of another person, if I do not become a burden on other people, I am adding to the betterment of the world. So I say that, if I have to take care of myself, first and foremost, when I look at the hierarchy, I say, I need to take care of myself first. First, me. I'm not asking people to be selfish, far from it. I'm also saying that, it's not useful to be selfish. It's not useful to be selfless also. We need to give it an appropriate level of importance. So the foundation, the base on which everything in our lives, each and every one of our lives exists, is on us, the individual. Based on that, after the individual comes the family, because that is, evolutionarily as well, the family and the social bonds, the connections. When I say family, I'm also including extremely close friends here. I'm not just talking about relatives here. I'm talking about the people who care for us and who matter to us. That's what I call my family. First, I take care of myself, then I can take care of my family. I can contribute to taking care of my family and my friends. And to do all of that, I also need to be able to do something in terms of work. It doesn't have to be commercially, or it doesn't have to pay money, but it's something that I'm doing. It could be a vocation. It could be something that I'm doing. But unless I take care of myself and I can take care of my family and my friends, it would not be possible for me to be effective in the workplace. And then finally, once we do all of these things, then we can go and start taking care of society, right? I grew up in Chennai, and there was this wonderful friend of my father's, and he hadn't, in today's world, he would be called, not very educated, but he was exceptionally wise, native intelligence and exceptionally wise. And he would always tell me, when I was going at it, hammer and tongs, I was doing a lot of things. He would actually tell me, he'd say, Chino, you can't paint without a canvas. You can't paint without a canvas. The canvas that you have, that you want to paint all of the beautiful things in your life on, the canvas is you. If you don't take care of yourself, you will not be able to achieve, you will not be able to reach your greater purpose, you will not be able to help other people, you will not be able to do anything that's useful. And on the contrary, when you don't take care of yourself, you actually become a burden on other people. So the first thing that we can do is to take care of ourselves. And Ramana Maharshi said it beautifully when somebody went and told him that, there is so much of pain in the world. I want to make a change in the world. And he said, you focus on your reform. You focus on you becoming happy. And then social reform will take care of itself. So am I saying, therefore, that you should shirk other responsibilities that you have? No, not at all. It is not an either or. It is, and sometimes, for example, the whole of last night I was awake, and I was handling a rather crucial kind of a situation for a set of clients that I work with. And this set of problems started at about 8 in the evening, and it went on till 6 in the morning, right? And there were multiple people from multiple time zones, and it was quite a hectic time. So, but that doesn't mean that, if when I'm needed, I'm not there. Yes, last night there was no sleep. So what I did was I did a few relaxation practices after that so that I'm fresh and I'm 100% with you today, right? So take care of yourself first. And so we're going to talk about a few things that are key to emotional and social wellness. The first step is that you need to focus on yourself, right? Don't wait for the world to change itself. Don't wait for your family to make changes. Don't wait for your boss or your colleagues or your employees to become different. You focus on yourself, right? Because the only person that you have any semblance of control over is yourself, nobody else. We cannot even though we can cajole, we can inspire, we can coerce, we can threaten other people to make some changes. Those are not some things that you can guarantee will happen. Even changes that we have to do ourselves are not guaranteed, but at least we can be committed to making those changes. And I believe in this very strong thing that, one has to be the change they want to see in others. There's never a question of do as I say. It is most often than not. It's not most often than not. Always it is do as I do. As children, we learned by observing what our parents and caregivers did. We learned to speak before we could learn to read. We learned to associate things. We learned to understand what an apple was by eating it and then giving it a name, right? So please remember that the only person you have any semblance of control over is yourself, and therefore be the change. And for those who might have joined in late, and for those who've been here right from the beginning, a reminder of the disclaimer that we shared, right? Be very, very careful. Don't jump to this because this is information that's being shared. If you are under medication, you're going to do something, you are under treatment, you are doing something already, check with somebody who is qualified and is the person who's taking care of you. And then do whatever changes you need to do. I have a lot of people that I work with, and if they are under medical treatment, there's one thing that I tell them. Whatever I tell you to do, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, run it past your doctor, run it past your physician, run it past your, if you are under psychiatric care, then run it past your psychiatrist as well. Definitely don't make any changes to medication or, anything without consulting a trained medical or appropriate person, right? We are sharing information that is gathered and it is done in best interest, and it is a compendium. It is a sharing of research. It's useful. Most of it I have tried out myself, right? And it's worked for me. That doesn't mean that it has to work for any one of you here. And you can still try it out for yourself. You can attempt to do it. And if it works for you, great. So with that disclaimer, first thing, ironic that I'm telling you about sleep and I told you that I haven't slept a wink last night. And that's okay, because it is proof that ad hocs and emergencies will happen. But the most important, a lot of research has said, and if you want more on this, there is this wonderful book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, 35 years of research, plus a whole lot of other studies have said that sleep is extremely, extremely important. There is a study that's been done at the Salk Institute in California by Sachin Panda, and he's written a wonderful book called The Circadian Code and the Circadian Diabetes Code. He's written multiple books. There is a whole lot of research that's been done, and they found out that a minimum of 7 hours of sleep is extremely, extremely important. And furthermore, that it is very useful to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day, whether it's a weekend or a weekday. 7 hours, plan to get the 7 hours of sleep, right? If your day was only 16 hours, how would you live life? The reason I'm saying day is only 16 hours is because if you have to get 7 hours of sleep, you'll need to be in bed for at least 8 hours. So the way I plan my day nowadays is by saying that my day is only 16 hours. I've set aside 8 hours for sleep, because if I don't take care of myself, it's not going to be useful, right? And going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, useful. And you know what? Except for two things, except for three things, the last three things, I didn't do any of the things that I'm putting up here last night. I didn't get 7 hours of sleep. I didn't go to bed at the normal time that I go to, which is between 8 and 8:30, because I'm up between 4 and 4:30. I didn't do that. I didn't avoid screens. I didn't avoid a dark room last night. And whenever I've done all of these things, the quality of my sleep and how I wake up, the kind of energy that I have in the morning when I wake up is exceptional. Aside of that, it has been found that sleep is the greatest from both an emotional wellness perspective and a physical wellness perspective. Our immunity is strengthened when we sleep. Contrary, if we don't sleep, our immunity gets affected. So if you're sleeping 6 hours or 5 hours, and if you look at sleep as a cost, oh, I have to sleep, I'm wasting my time when I'm sleeping. You know, there is this wrong notion that sleep means laziness, that somebody who's sleeping is not serious about life. And there are so many stories that make heroes out of people who sleep less, right? None of that is backed by medical science or data and research. The contrary has been proven right, right? There is a very, very, very small, minuscule minority percentage of people who have a certain genetic code that are able to survive on 6 hours or less of sleep, between 5 and 6 hours of sleep. Most people, when they hear this, and I'm going to say exactly what Matt Walker says when he talks about it. Most people think, you know, I must have that genetic programming. Sorry, it is far rarer than you and I can even comprehend. It would be appropriate to say that 99.9999% of the people need 7 hours or more. What are the things that can help you get good sleep? You know, small things like, you know, avoiding screens at least 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime. Ensure that you have a dark room, right? I've got very dark curtains in my room, and that's entirely to make sure that there is no light that comes in. And I have smart lights which actually start becoming dimmer. There are receptors in our eyes which have a circadian rhythm. They have a 24-hour clock. Every single cell in our body has a clock, and they work to that clock. Sachin Panda has done research where he says that if there are certain medical interventions like surgeries to be done, depending on what kind of surgery, the patient might get better benefit, recover faster with lesser complications if a certain kind of surgery is done at a certain point of time in the day. For example, if it's something to do with the kidney, then it's at this time. If it's something to do with the digestive system, it should be done at this time. If it's something to do with the heart, they're gathering that data, but they're getting around to saying that if you want better results, make sure that this is done at this time. So get sleep, make sure that sleep is an investment, not a cost. It is an investment that will pay you great dividends, because you will become better at everything. Right from, if you want to lose weight, getting sleep is important, because there are certain biochemicals like ghrelin and leptin, which are those that are associated with hunger. If you have less sleep, you will reach for a more unhealthy snack, not because you are not conscious of it, you don't have control. The body will go for it because it thinks that there is scarcity, it needs more energy. So make sure that you're getting the sleep. Avoid any and all coffee and tea, caffeine. Those of you who sometimes take alcohol, please it's like Matthew Walker again. I'm going to quote Matthew Walker again. It's not something that is politically correct, but drinking in the evening, whether it is an alcoholic drink or coffee or tea, isn't useful. After 1 p.m., avoid any caffeinated drinks. I love coffee. I'm a connoisseur of coffee. I'm a barista myself. So when I saw this, when I came across this, I didn't like it. And I was one of those people who used to say, you know what, nah, it doesn't affect my sleep. I can sleep well. The data proves otherwise. I've been tracking my sleep with some technical aids, and it shows that the days I have caffeine or tea or even an alcoholic drink, the quality of my sleep suffers, right? And I'm not going on the basis of what other people say. I'm going on the basis of what I found out for myself. So find out for yourself. Before you sleep, practice SILSA. SILSA, we've already spoken about it, because there is a lovely podcast that I was listening to, and the person says, just as we're going to lie down, that's when all the things that can go wrong, we start thinking about it. And when do we not think about it? When we are really tired and exhausted, where we go put our head on the pillow and we are asleep. It's rather better to do that than sit in, lie in bed and start wondering about all the things that can go wrong. I'm going to talk about nasal breathing because it's a wonderful book called Breath, written by James Nestor. There is Patrick McKeown, who's written about it. In our Indian culture, breathing has been known to be most extremely useful, powerful in terms of general health itself. And breathing through the nostrils is extremely important. About 50% of the world's population breathes through their mouth. For example, as I'm speaking, the only way I can breathe is through my mouth. So the less I speak, the greater my chances of breathing through my nostrils. And nasal breathing enhances quality of sleep. There are some aids, if you are interested, take a look at it, where a small piece of surgical tape, which keeps the lips together, will ensure that we don't breathe through our mouth in the night, enhances quality of sleep. So this is about the first and most important thing, sleep. Please make notes of whatever it is. If you have any questions, please ask me. I will be done with. I have about 8 of these key elements. So we've just finished one. The second one, none of what you're going to hear today is going to be something that is earth-shattering and something absolutely new that you've not heard. You might hear some things that corroborate and underscore the need for what we all know is useful. For example, sleep, all of us know is useful. Second thing is exercise. The recommended duration is at least 150 minutes of exercise where our heart rate elevates to at least twice its resting rate, right? I say that preferably 45 minutes a day. We should be able to find 45 minutes a day to invest in ourselves, to take care of ourselves. And it is not just a walk. A walk itself will do a lot of good. And there is enough and more data to say that if we can build muscle, it doesn't matter whether you are young or old. The older you are, after the age of 40, we lose about 5 to 10% of our muscle if we don't do anything every year. And it takes a lot more to build muscle after we are 40. So, and I don't want to be like somebody who is scaring you. It's never too late. The body is an amazing machine. And all you need to do is to ease into it, always within your limits. Exercise, make it a combination of, and you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need these huge weights that, bodybuilders use. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about lean muscle. We're talking about just using body weight. You can actually do what I call wall push-ups. You can stand 3 feet away from the wall, lean on the wall, and push yourself off and go closer. Push yourself and go closer. And you'll find that you are developing strength. The key is minute and consistent progress. Active lifestyle. For example, I have a standing desk. So once I finish the presentation, I'm going to actually place my laptop on a standing desk, and I'm going to be standing up for the question and answers and for the latter half of today's session. Regularly, I do sessions standing up. And I do a lot of, if I'm speaking on the phone, I walk around. Little like the idea ad, walk and talk, walk and talk. I keep doing that. Have an active lifestyle. What do I mean by an active lifestyle? It's not about running or swimming or anything. Wherever, can you take the steps? Can you just walk up those one flight of stairs? If you go, if you take public transport, people who take public transport actually get between 3,000 and 4,000 more steps than people who take their own transport, because they have to walk to either the bus stand or to the metro station, and they have to walk a bit. These are the small drops that can make a huge difference in terms of how good you are. Along with it is mindset. There was an experiment that was done in hospital, hotel workers, the maintenance staff, the housekeeping staff, and they were split up into two groups. And one group was told that what they are doing, all of them were generally asked, do you get exercise? And all of them said, no, I don't get any exercise. My work takes a lot of time. And then when they were told that all the activities that they were doing, pushing a cart, going and changing bed clothes, cleaning the toilets, cleaning the floor of a hotel, these are all housekeeping workers. And they were told that all of this counts towards exercise. So one group of people were told all of this counts towards exercise. Another group wasn't told anything, but they were told that if you don't exercise, it will have detrimental effects on your health. After a period of time, the people, and all of them did exactly the same work for the duration of the experiment. The team that was told that what they did on a regular basis was exercise, could be counted as exercise. All health parameters became better at the end of the experiment. They were feeling better because they felt that they were actually exercising. So a small hack, small thought process, which says that I'm doing all of this, this is exercise. Right? I'm sweeping, mopping the floor, I'm doing the dishes, whatever it is. If you can just change the mindset, it will be helpful. And like I said, always within your limits, start slow, start small. I once had a client whose goal was to exercise for 60 minutes every day. And I have a deal with all my clients that they have to call me and tell me those 5 or 6 things that they have agreed to do. Are they doing it or not? So this person would call me and the question would be, today, did I do my best to exercise for 60 minutes? And for the first week, every single day, the person said 0, 0, because they would rate themselves on a scale of 0 for I didn't do anything at all to I did my best to do this, right, at 10. So for the first week, I just kept quiet and I just listened to this person. At the end of 1 week, I said, what can we do about this question? I'm lacking willpower, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that. I said, no. Let's not get into that. Willpower is like a muscle. It tends to become tired. What is it that we can do to the question? How can we change the question such that you would think that it's absolutely stupid for you to say anything other than 10 next week when you call me? So the person said, oh, today, did I do my best to exercise for 30 minutes? I said, no. 15 minutes? I said, no. Finally, the person said, are you saying that I should say today, did I do my best to exercise for 1 minute? I said, yes, please. They said, that's really stupid. I said, no, let's start with it. So the next day when they called me, they said, today, did I do my best to exercise for 1 minute? And they were laughing and they said 10. I said, super. At the end of the call, they said, can I change that 1 minute? I said, no, nothing to it. For the next 1 week, they answered the same question. Today, did I do my best to exercise for 1 minute as a 10? And I told them you cannot exercise for more than 1 minute because that's the question. Second week, we made it 2 minutes. The third week, we made it 4 minutes, right? The fourth week, 8 minutes, right? Fifth week, 16 minutes. Sixth week, 32 minutes. And the seventh week, 60 minutes. And the person was, from the seventh week, they were exercising 60 minutes. So take it easy, take it slow, right? We all have this enthu and we start off and then it's like the New Year resolution, right? Take it easy, be kind to yourself. Small, extremely small, consistent progress will make a huge difference. Remember that. The third thing is about sunlight. There are receptors in the back of our eye which actually kickstart the circadian clock in our body. So as soon as possible, when you wake up, best to wake up without an alarm, because if you are adhering to the sleep cycle, you're going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, normally you will not need an alarm. Actually, I will say keep an alarm for going to bed at a certain time rather than waking up at a certain time. If you have said that, I'll go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 6, keep an alarm at 9 so that you can prepare and you can get ready to get into bed at 10. So as soon as you wake up, as soon as possible upon waking up, get the brightest light that you can. And even if it is 15 minutes, just go out I know we live in concrete jungles today, but we can go and find some greenery, walk down on the street, get sunlight and nature. If you can go to a park for 15 minutes without gadgets, just with yourself, it'll make a huge difference, because it'll start the entire clock for the entire cellular mechanisms that are present in the body. Simple, most effective. I have worked with people who have been treated for various kinds of things like depression, and simple things that I have shared till now with you, which is 15 minutes to 60 minutes of sunlight before 9 o'clock in the morning, being in nature without gadgets, and 45 minutes of exercise, and getting 7 hours of sleep. These are just 4 things that people did. And either their doctors saw their symptoms completely go away or reduce so much that their medication came down greatly, or the medication went away. Right. Again, like I said, disclaimer, remember the disclaimer, don't do anything on your own. If you're under treatment, if you have medication, check with your doctor. Simple thing, 15 minutes of sunlight. Even if the sky is clouded, the light that you find outside, it's not standing inside and looking out the window. Please go outside and look. On an overcast day, when the sun is not directly seen in the morning, the light that you have in nature is about 30 to 50,000 times more than the brightest light that you can find indoors. I'm talking about brightest light that you can find in a home indoors. I'm not talking about cinema lighting. I'm not talking about those kinds of lighting. I'm talking about a regular tube light or an incandescent bulb. What we have outside is 30,000 to 50,000 times stronger. And that hits a certain set of cells in the back of the retina, which then kickstarts the entire process and says, okay, time to wake up, it's daylight. Because you remember that we are diurnal, we are not nocturnal. We are programmed to wake up with the sun, live and eat and do everything with the sun, because when 100,000 years ago, there were so many dangers that we would try to keep out of trouble when it was night. We wouldn't eat, we wouldn't drink water, we would be very, very safe. So sunlight is the signal, literally light signal that kickstarts the process. So get some sunlight. Water and breath, if you are 50 years of less, then your body is about 70 to 75% water. Your brain is between 85 and 90% water. So hydrating yourself periodically, waking up in the morning and having a glass of water, 2 glasses of water, extremely useful before you have anything else. Not eating for 60 minutes after you wake up, extremely useful. This again coincides with the circadian rhythm and how the system functions. So hydrate yourself periodically, make sure that whatever it is that is appropriate for you, find out for your height, your weight, and whatever other medical or other condition you might have. Ensure that you're having between 2 and 3 liters of water. That's the thumb rule. Again, remember the disclaimer. Check out what works for you. Hydrate yourself periodically. The second thing that, there are certain fuels that make us live, right? Food is one, oxygen is the other, water is the third. When I ask people what are the bare necessities to live, normally today people say food, clothing, and shelter. I say, no, it's not food, clothing, and shelter. It is food to eat, water to drink, and air to breathe. These are the necessities. Everything else is optional. Human beings are the only ones that wear clothing. And now we've also got our pets wearing clothing just like us, right? Because we believe that we are doing the right thing. So hydrate yourself appropriately. Breathing, the focus in terms of breathing is the rhythm, evenness, and mindfulness in breathing. And I'm not saying that, you have to sit down and say, look at what your own breathing or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only saying if for 1 minute in an hour, there are 16 hours that you're awake, 16 times, 1 minute every day, 1 minute for every hour in every day, 16 minutes in total. If you either practice, first and foremost, you need to practice nasal breathing all the time, except when you're talking like this. Breathe only through the nostrils. Be aware. And to ensure that the nasal passages are clean and all of that, Jalneti nasal cleaning has been extremely powerful. There are enough and more research documents that say that it's very, very useful for overall health, not just breathing. Asthma, people who suffer from asthma and all of that also have found great benefit from doing all of this. And as with everything else, when you start, it is likely to be uncomfortable till you get used to it. I started doing this about 3 years ago. I found it difficult then. Now, unless I do Jalneti twice a day, I feel like I've not done something useful. What is box breathing? Box breathing is very simple. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. So how do we count the 4 seconds? 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. That's 4 seconds. All you need to do is this cycle of breathing in for 4 seconds, holding the breath in for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds, and holding the breath for 4 seconds. You do that, one cycle is 16 seconds. You do that for 4 cycles, it is 1 minute and 4 seconds. That's all that you need to do. And if you do that once an hour, it has so many beneficial effects in terms of your mental well-being, physical well-being, cardiovascular health, all of that. The other thing, if you're finding it difficult to go to sleep, it's called 4-7-8 breathing. As it says, you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. Same process, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Hold for 7, exhale for 8. Do this cycle. So if you look at it, it's 19 seconds to a cycle. 3 cycles like this is 57 seconds. If you want to sleep, this is probably very, very useful for you. So hydrating yourself and breathing well. Nutrition, again, nothing that is new here. But the most important thing is as much of whole grains as possible, as close to its natural state as possible. And the latest, this has been done for centuries. Evolutionarily, we used to do this time-restricted feeding. We would not eat after sunset. We would not eat before sunrise because we couldn't step outside because our lives were in danger 100,000 years ago. Today, we live in a society of plenty, that food is available all the time. So most people end up eating for anything between 16 and 18 hours. Not useful. Again, there is a lot of research in this, that if you can eat in an 8 to 10 hour window, 8 to 10 hours, and you are fasting between 14 and 16 hours. When I say fasting, it's not actually fasting. You're not eating. And only things that you consume are water. It has great benefits for your emotional well-being. I'm not even talking about physical well-being because they are all interlinked, right? All cultures, all paths have this concept of periodic fasting. Research it, understand it for yourself. I'm not going to suggest or prescribe anything. And eat mindfully. Are you eating because you're hungry, or are you eating because it's time to eat? If it's time to eat, it's not very useful. If you're eating because you're hungry, that is useful. Keep that in mind. Have awareness in terms of the sugar and the carbs that you are consuming. Biggest It has all of it. There is a book called The Hacking of the American Mind by Robert Lustig, which actually speaks about the kind of damage that sugar does to the brain, the way we think, how it affects our emotions, how it affects our behavior, right? So be aware, find out more about it. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'm just going to skim the surface today. And then, most important, longevity. When there was a study that was done about people who lived the longest, they found that one striking thing about all those people who lived healthily, happily, and for long was they had exceptional social connections. So you remember in that thing, self, family, work, society. That family includes your social connections, your closest family, your friends, all of them. Nurture those friendships. Reach out, make sure that you are with people. Make time to go and share time with those who matter. Cultivate some activities that you can do together. It's not just sitting there and gossiping or doing anything. It's actually doing something together. Find common interests, right? It's not you have to do it in one. You can, you can link a lot of these things. For example, you can create a social network with regard to being in nature, doing exercise, and in sunlight. So you can join a running group, a cycling group, a walking group, or whatever it is. Enhance your social connections. Meet in person as much as possible. Speaking face to face makes a huge difference. There are these things called the mirror neurons in our brain, which help us. That makes empathy possible, compassion possible. We're able to share, we're able to have bonding, we feel better. So meet in person. And there is this lot of research that's been done on gratitude. So normally people say that, you know what, I will write down what it is that I'm grateful for. They found out that we feel better when people thank us and tell us how we've been useful for them. We get greater benefit when other people express gratitude to us, and we feel good about the fact that we've been useful to others. So there is this wonderful TED talk by Laura Trice. I've put that name up there. It's a 3-minute talk, and the talk is titled The Power of Saying Thank You. And Laura Trice talks about people who actually, there is a wife who would go to her husband and say, and to her children and say, thank me for all the things that I've done in the house today. So, and she talks very interestingly and very articulately about why we feel unsafe to go and tell people, thank me, right? And we think that it's wrong for us to ask people to thank us. I think we need to have those social connections, social friendships, and where we have to have that safety, where we can actually reach out and tell people, thank me. Or you can be the change you want in others by thanking them. I write a gratitude journal and I thank people. I write it down every day. And when I mention people by name, I send it to them and I say, thank you very much, right? And once a day, I call one of those people, I speak to them and say, thank you very much. If I can meet them, I meet them and tell them that I'm grateful. So extremely important to have social networks, connections, and practice gratitude. This is very interesting. Learn one new skill a year. One new skill. It could be a musical instrument. It could be something to cook. It could be to sew. It could be to, some craft, dancing, music, reading, some sport, anything. Why? Because the brain is as much a muscle as every other part of the body. So if you don't use your brain, and there is this process of neurogenesis that takes place, and that happens only when we are learning new things. Neural connections take place when we are learning new things. The objective is not for you to become an expert at what it is that you are going to start. Not everybody who swims is going to become an Olympic gold medalist. Not everybody who writes is going to become a best-selling author. But you can write just because you want to write. You can learn a musical instrument just because you want to learn a musical instrument. You can learn a new language. The older we go, the tougher it becomes to learn new things. And if you get into the habit, and it's never too late to start. right? I have started my mother is 85 years old, and I've asked her to start playing the keyboard. She used to play the veena for a long time, and now I've got her a keyboard and she's learning to play the keyboard. There are other people. I know somebody who's constantly, there is a 79-year-old woman who's exceptionally healthy, and she keeps learning new things all the time, right? So new connections take place in the brain. So one new, either a language, it could be a sport, it could be a skill, it could be music, it could be art, you could learn how to paint, or you could learn how to do clay molding, whatever it is, knitting, all yours. Learn something new. It is going to be difficult, and it is good because it keeps the brain young. It keeps the brain fresh. It flushes out the toxins in the brain, and you feel energized. And all of this will help you be a better human being with yourself first, right? I have somebody who plays the flute. They started learning to play the flute, and now they've got a thing where right now they're playing the flute. They're feeling a little upset, and it's, this is a startup entrepreneur. In today's world, technology startup world is extremely difficult in especially with the pandemic. And when I shared this, they said, you know what, Chino, I'm finding it a great release valve when I play the flute. Another person plays the drums. They're learning. Another person goes and paints. So choice is yours, but learn one new thing every year. Last but not the least, it is about a greater purpose. It's not just that we are born to live, to eat, to work, to earn money, and to die. Each and every one of us has a larger purpose. And the larger purpose is not just to live, but to be of use to community. It is about giving. It is about supporting. It is about being there. Tetsuro Matsuzawa is a primate researcher who's been studying chimpanzees and orangutans and all kinds of primates, and the similarity at a genetic level, behavioral level with human beings. And he's got a huge facility where all kinds of primates are there. If you're interested, there is this, it's called the cognitive hypothesis, cognitive trade-off hypothesis. It's available on YouTube, in YouTube Originals, where he talks about how chimpanzees have greater photographic memory, and that part of the brain that was used by human beings for photographic memory was repurposed for language. So he says that what makes a human being? And he says to be a human being is to care and to share. So do random acts of kindness, because the person who benefits the most from the act of kindness is you. And if you are engaging in giving, it's not just about making a contribution in terms of money. If you can actually go and do something, it has far more benefit than just giving some money. If you see the person whom you are contributing to, and you can see the benefit that you are making happen in their life, you will feel such goodness in yourself, and you will benefit the most. So be aware of that. Finally, you know what? All of this, how does this link to emotional and social wellness, right? So how does it link? Very simple. It links this way, that if I'm happy and I have a purpose, I'm happy by myself, I'm purposeful, chances are that I will have a good attitude, and I'll be considered resourceful. Because I'm happy, I am not a sarpus, I am not a person who's negative, and I am not a wet blanket. I have a great attitude, I am resourceful, I have a can-do attitude. Chances are that then people will find me to be inspiring. They will like me, and therefore they will support me. If I'm happy, I have a great attitude, and I'm inspiring, liked, and supported, chances are that I will achieve all my objectives or goals consistently, predictably, and with ease. and I will learn right through the process. If all of this happens, chances are that I will have greater self-confidence, self-belief, and I will feel good about myself. I will feel more enthused about life. I will look at the cup as half full rather than half empty. Or even if I look at it as half empty, I say, I can fill this up. There is space for growth. And because I have greater confidence, I take on a loftier, higher purpose, goal, objective, whatever it is. And if I'm really inspired and enthused about the goals or the purpose that I have, chances are that I will wake up every single day happy and purposeful. And I call it the happiness spiral or the ladder, because we have to take it one step at a time. We need to take one step at a time in each of these growth processes. And it requires awareness. It requires people to be dedicated. What's the opposite of this, which is very easy for people, and we see this a lot in people today? It is the uncontrolled slide, where people just start sliding very slowly, and before they know it, they have lost all control and they're going all over the place. They end up hurting themselves and they're not happy. How does that happen? How does this slide happen? First, I'm upset. I'm not very purposeful. I'm dejected. I'm depressed. I'm not very enthused. And I'm saying, oh, this is a waste of time. Nothing is going to happen. If I have that attitude, I will be very negative. I will be pessimistic. I will not be inspiring. And if I'm not inspiring, if I have negative and pessimistic attitude, people do not want to be around me, right? Nobody wants to be in a stinky place, right? We find it distasteful. Similarly, when people are not very negative, are not very positive, they are negative all the time, people do not want to be around them, and we start losing support. And if we start losing support, even the smallest of tasks becomes that much difficult. And that leads to inconsistent or less than what is ideal in terms of achieving our goals. And it's certainly not predictable. It is very tough. Even the smallest goals become very difficult. And if that happens, chances are that I will start losing confidence in myself if I haven't got the right kind of results that I wanted to. And I'll start feeling that I'm not worthy, I'm not useful, and all of that. And if that happens, I'll start reducing the amount of the kind of challenge that I take. I'll start reducing my circles. And this is what will be called clinical depression. People want to go into a shell. They don't want to be with people. They say, I don't want to talk to anybody. There is no energy and all of that. And then I'm more unhappy. I'm more upset. And it's a slide. So with that, I'm going to leave you with something that's going to be something that I heard for the first time about 20 odd years ago, when I said I have to and I can't do anything about it. My mentor, my coach told me, happiness and health is everybody's birthright. Suffering is entirely optional. And then he looked at me, smiled and said, Chino, choose wisely. So I'm going to leave you with those words. That's the end of the presentation. I am happy to take any questions that you might have. And if you want me to go to any of these slides, let me know. I can go back there. For now, I'm going to stop the sharing of the screen so we can have an interactive, hopefully a lively interactive session. Thank you. And thank you very much for all the people who have signed in and who have been here all this while, or you signed in for a brief period of time. Thank you for your presence, and thank you for allowing me into your life for this period of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gino. We are now open for questions. Let's keep this interactive. Please unmute yourself. You could also come on video and come up with your questions.
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, sir. So very informative talk, sir. So insightful it is. So I want to know, sir, when multiple things are going on parallelly in our profession, we have to do a number of things at a time. How to focus on one thing, sir? Means everything we should do it in time on time.
Correct.
Even though when we plan to do one task first, some other task will come on high priority.
Correct.
So how to make our mind calm and cool to make one task to complete first?
Correct. So, what I would suggest is that first you need to be aware of what is it that you're experiencing. Are you feeling irritated, upset, worried, concerned, whatever it is? Second, you have to, if it is something that you have planned and your boss or your client has given you something else which is a different priority, then you'll need to ask yourself which is the most high priority thing that you need to take care of. And if there are other people who need to be told that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do or deliver in the time that I said I will, it is best that you call them and tell them, give them an option saying that there is something that's an emergency that has come up and that you need to. So when you say it's an emergency, they'll say, oh, am I not important? So you'll need to be very careful in terms of how you communicate that. Regardless, when you're doing one thing, stay 100% focused on that one thing. Take some time to plan and identify what it is that really, really is important for you to focus your energy, time, and effort on. And complete that, practice the SILSA, practice breathing, go look at the sky for a minute, step outside into sunlight. It's like a circuit breaker. Break the circuit that you are in. Come back, you'll have a fresher perspective and you can handle it better. If all the time you have this kind of conflicting priority, all the time, if that is the norm rather than the exception, then it is time for you to take a hard look at how you organize yourself. How clear are you about what you need to do? How good are you at planning? How good are you at prioritizing? How good are you at estimating the amount of time or energy or effort that is required to complete a task? In my experience of working with people, the one thing that comes in the way of people doing a good job is that they are not great at estimating the amount of time that it takes to finish a task. They don't break down the tasks into component parts so that they can take it one component piece at a time. Right? So I would suggest that if you can look at all of these things, and it is difficult for me to give you, without knowing the exact details, I'm giving you a very generic answer. And this is something that most people, most of the clients that I work with do have this, and I share with them that they need to do this. They need to be able to step back and take a look at what really matters. I hope that's useful for you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just going to move to my standing desk. It's a very simple standing desk that I have. I have a plastic stool that I put on top of my regular desk, and I have a standing desk. Didn't have to spend too much money.
Do you know how long should we stand? I mean, is there any prescribed time for how much to stand and how much to sit?
See, this is as human beings, whenever, as we were evolving, we would stand, we would sit, and we wouldn't be sitting in one place, one look, one posture. As and when it was relevant, we would change posture as well, right? So stand for as long as is comfortable. Well, small things, I talked about an active lifestyle. I take the metro, and nowadays in the metro, even if there are places to sit, I prefer to stand. It makes a small difference. I sometimes sit at my desk. Sometimes I have the same plastic stool that I have here. I put it on the floor and I sit on the floor. So it is about varying the kind of posture that we have, right? In a day, normally, if I have about 5 or 6 sessions that I have with my clients, about 50% of the time I take it standing up. 50% of the time I take it sitting either down at my desk or on the floor. So no stipulated thing. And, it also changes posture. Make sure that, you're looking directly into the screen, not looking down like this, right? Because if you have a table and you're looking down, that puts a pressure on the cervical part and all of that. So not very useful. This is again based on a lot of study and research that's been done, that the ideal angle for your eyes, if you are having a screen, is to look directly or look a little above, right? I am looking directly into the screen right now. I don't have to bend down. I can type like this and I don't need to look down. Ideally, if I have an ability to, let's say, keep it here where I'm looking up, that is even better. Okay. So standing and looking into the screen as directly as possible is useful. Just do a little more rather than taking the easy way out. Make it a little more difficult. For example, when we take bath, instead of just patting ourselves dry, we can vigorously wipe ourselves dry. All of those small things make a huge difference.
Thank you, Chin.
We have a question from one of the viewers. This has come on a message to me. Can I read out the question? Would you be able?
Please do.
So the question goes like this. In situations where one is facing a lot of emotional issues on the personal front, and we cannot afford to let go the flow at work, how do we balance, how do we mask, or how do we keep both the emotions separate? How do we not let the emotional trauma, the emotional trauma affect our work?
Okay. So I'll give a simple answer. Practice the SILSA. Every single moment you become aware of the fact that there is something else that's weighing in on you, right? Practice the SILSA, set it aside. I also don't think it's about balancing things. It's about blending things. That, finally, it is one human being that we are. Either we are consciously thinking of it or we are unconsciously, it is in the background, right? So if we can give a guide to our unconscious mind and say, you know what, I acknowledge that this is an issue. Right now, it doesn't serve me to think about that issue when I'm focused on this issue at work. So being 100% present in what we are doing. For example, right now I'm here. The fact that there is a client situation that I've been up through the night, etc., makes no difference. I'm here 100%, right? So I would suggest that the simplest thing to do is to compartmentalize and acknowledge it. And all that I've said, all that I've shared today can be aids can help you in all of this. For example, sleeping. Because when we are sleeping, what happens is that each and every event, experience, or situation in life that we have gone through is reprocessed. The emotional content of all those experiences appropriately processed in our dreams. When we are dreaming, the brain is processing it and deciding whether to move it to long-term storage or to dispose it off. So sleeping is important. Sunlight is important because it energizes us. Hydrating ourselves is important. Eating properly is important. All of the things that I exercise, because when we are stressed, there is a certain buildup of cortisol and other chemicals in the body. If we exercise, that will be used properly. So we bring the levels of those chemicals down to manageable levels and we are able to focus better. So we will be able to, it's a little like a nicely serviced and well-maintained vehicle. For the same fuel, it will give you better economy, it'll go farther, it'll go faster, it'll be smoother, exactly the same thing. So there are personal situations. If when I'm in the personal situation, I need to focus 100% on the personal situation so that I'm there with that person, and I can think my energy, my effort, my resources, my intellect, all of it, I can use it for that person's situation. And I know that there are today workplaces are they are understanding as well. But then every workplace we have to understand is a commercial enterprise. There is an economic enterprise that they are. So there is a certain amount of, I'm going to put it very crudely. If we go to a hotel and we pay, let's say 40 rupees for a plate of 2 idlis, because the cook is not feeling well or they have an issue at home, if they give us half-cooked idlis, we are not going to tolerate that. We will say, okay, you're not well, don't come here. So it at one level, it might seem heartless, but it's not. It's just that, there is a certain level of expectation that we have. So self, family, work, society, that's the ranking that I've given. And I look at it that way. And if it comes to a choice, I would choose my family and my health and my family and the wellness of my family over the work. Even if it means that I need to take on a lesser paying job, I will do that. I have done that in my life. I have advised that of people, because finally, like I said, the bare necessities for living life are water, air, and food. Everything else is optional. I know that there are societal pressures. I know that there are societal norms. I know that we have our own desires. We have our own wants and what plans we have. We just need to put things in perspective and say, is this really worth it? Is it really worth the kind of stress that I'm going through? Can I live a little peaceful? Because if I'm peaceful and I can work myself, you remember the upward spiral, the happiness spiral, if I can get there. So my simple answer is, at a technique level, practice the SILSA, get sunlight, do some exercise, practice breathing, set it aside, and ensure that you get sleep. And, it might be counterintuitive and people say, you know what, I'm stressed, I'm not able to sleep, and you're saying get sleep. Yeah, find a way of getting sleep. If it means that you have to physically work out and make yourself so tired that you're going to sleep well, so be it. Because it is all a cycle, right? It's like a pipe. There is a pipe. It's a circular pipe. And if there is a block in one place, the entire flow gets affected. So ensure that we're able to remove the blocks by putting more pressure elsewhere so that the blocks are removed. That would be my answer, Shreya. Hopefully that's useful to the person who's asked the question.
Yes, I got a thank you message. Thank you, Gina.
Sir, I have one more doubt, whether it is relevant or not, I'm asking now. So any tips to overcome procrastination?
Procrastination, it happens because of two things. One is, we are not able to focus. Second is, we are not able to concentrate. One, I have too big a task, which I have not broken down into small parts. And I know that if I take this, I'm not going to do this. So if I break down the task that I'm procrastinating on and make it into smaller component parts, I'll be able to make some small progress. That's one. Second, for the reason for procrastination is the benefit that I get from doing the task is not as much as I think the effort is in doing the task. Right? So the benefit that I'm going to get from doing the task is not as big as the effort that I'm putting in. So I wait and wait and wait and wait. For example, studying for an examination or making a presentation, preparing for a presentation, right? I've got 10 days, I've got 9 days, and suddenly I've got only 1 day and I'm then scrap, running around all over the place, because now the pain of not doing the task is what I'm focusing on rather than the benefit that I will accrue from doing the task. The third reason why we procrastinate is the effort is today. The benefit could happen later. For example, if I eat that chocolate or sugary thing today, I get the benefit, the pleasure, and all of that right now. If I avoid eating that, then the benefit does not accrue to me today. It accrues 3 months from today when I go and stand on the weighing scale. So procrastination, if you look at the word procrastination, it comes from the Latin word pro and crastinus. Pro means for, crastinus means tomorrow. So basically, it simply means that one of three things. Either I need to break down the task into small component bits, and then I will find out which part of that component, there could be 10 components in that one large task. That one component, either I don't like doing, or I'm not skilled at doing, or I don't know how to do. It could be anything. So break down the task into small component parts. When you say procrastination, if it's like exercise, then it means that the effort is today, benefit is 3 months from today. So many people procrastinate. That, how do we handle it? By ensuring that the blocks, that we make it as easy and as simple to do the activity. For example, when I go to bed, I keep everything ready for me to go cycling or to go to the gym or to go walking. Everything is kept ready the previous night. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to think. I just need to go put on my shoes, put on my clothes, put on this, put on my helmet, put on my jacket, and go cycling. So that is for that. If it is anything else, right, you just need to find out what is the component. I don't want to give you a specific answer to a generic situation. If you have a specific area where you're procrastinating, then we can talk about it a little differently. You're welcome.
Chino, I had this problem that I feel sleepy at odd times in the day. I mean, has started last 1 year or so, since last 1 year or so. Earlier, I used to just occasionally I used to take a nap in the afternoon, but otherwise I used to be like very alert, attentive. Now, if I'm watching the most interesting of the movies, also I feel sleepy in between. Why is that happening? And I don't sleep very soundly at night also.
And that's the reason why you feel sleep because you're not sleeping soundly and you're not getting enough sleep, is why the body will catch up. So there are 3 parts of sleep. If you look at sleep, there are 3 specific parts to sleep. There is light sleep. There is a dream sleep, which is called rapid eye movement sleep. And there is deep sleep. Deep sleep is what is required to, and we get deep sleep early in the sleep cycle. So when you go to bed at, let's say, 10 o'clock, before 12 o'clock, you've had a lot of deep sleep. 20% of your sleep is supposed to be deep sleep. Between 10 and 30% of your sleep is supposed to be REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. So in deep sleep, what happens is that it actually means what it is. You're deep sleep. You're absolutely not aware. You're not dreaming. You're not aware of this. But you are extremely alert.
In deep sleep as well.
Deep sleep. The body is alert, because you have to understand, evolutionarily, we had so much of threat. We didn't have houses to live in.
Right.
So anytime any predator could come, anything could come. So deep sleep is when the body is alert. Motor functions are all alive. Rapid eye movement sleep is dream sleep. At that time, what happens? It processes all the events of the day, the emotions of the day, sorts it into what do I need to keep, what do I need to reprocess, what do I need to tone down, what do I need to throw away, what do I need to store for the future, so that I don't make the same mistake again. I can learn from this. All of that happens in a rapid eye movement sleep. In rapid eye movement sleep, what happens is the brain connection to the motor cortex is cut. Why? For a simple reason that we should not act out our dreams.
Oh.
So at that time, when we are having rapid eye movement sleep, the body becomes, it just sinks into the mattress or into the floor. And light sleep is neither here nor there. It is just, the bodily processes, the immunity is being set up, the digestive tract is being repaired, the limbic fluids are being flushed out, all of the thing is being flushed out of the body. So this happens in cycles of 90 minutes. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all together. So you have cycles of deep sleep, cycles of REM sleep. Deep sleep, the cycles happen in longer duration as soon as you go to bed. The first part of your sleeping cycle. First half of your sleeping cycle, you get a lot of your deep sleep. In the latter part of your sleeping cycle, towards the time that you're waking up and getting ready, is when your REM sleep happens. So if you're feeling sleepy at odd times during the day, it's likely that you are not getting enough sleep of the right kind at night. And best not to nap. If at all you're napping, not more than 15 minutes, one nap of 15 minutes or 20 minutes, max to max.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is actually, if you're feeling sleepy, to do something else and ensure that you don't sleep, so that you can get to bed and sleep well. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Chinu, there's another question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it important to maintain a to-do list if we are practicing the technique which you suggested? I think you're referring to the SILSA.
Sorry, your voice broke up a little.
The question is it important to maintain a to-do list if we are going to do the technique you suggested? So I think the person means about the SILSA technique.
I really don't have clarity about the question. Generally, to-do lists are useful, but better than a to-do list is a segregated to-do list, a task list, which is derived from a person's clarity in terms of their goals, etc., etc., etc. So as far as the SILSA is concerned, it's not about a to-do list. It can be done at any time when we are going to embark on something, right? What is it that I'm focused on right now? For example, I did this SILSA before I started this event. So I just sat down and I said, okay, what is all in my head? So the client issue, etc., etc., etc. What were the emotions that I was feeling? I went through all of that. Physically, I was feeling a little tired, right? Many people tell me, no, you don't look that tired. Yes, I did some exercises that are relaxing. It's, it is a very age-old technique in India called Yoga Nidra, which is relaxation, but without sleeping. Because one of the things that we do in that is to say that I will not sleep. I will stay awake through the process. So for the SILSA, it is about what is it that's there on my mind that could come in the way of me being 100% present. Keep it aside for a certain duration of time. It's not that you have to have a to-do list. You have to just think, consciously think, okay, this is coming in the way of me being 100% present. What else? Nothing else. I'm going to stay 100% focused on this. If when I'm doing something, suddenly something else comes up also, I can say, you know what, it's not useful for me to think about this right now. I'm feeling irritated about this. I'm going to keep it aside. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Chino.
I also feel, Chino, like when you're troubled by other thoughts, maybe unfinished tasks or something, you're not able to focus on what is happening at the moment. It's easier to write it down so that, you're not tempted to think about it. So once it's written down, you can go back to it whenever you have time.
Do whatever it is that you that works for you. The key is that when I'm focused on one task, let me be focused on one task.
Okay.
Right? So there is a tips for students preparing for competitive exams. Sleep well, exercise, sleep well. Get this book, Why We Sleep. It tells you when it is useful to study. So if you're going to study something and then go to sleep, chances are that you will retain it better. Right? So difficult problems that you are doing, practice them in the evening and then go to sleep. When you wake up, your brain will have sorted it out and you'll have a better understanding. Instead of memory, understand the concepts. Don't go about memorizing things. Don't go on formula. Understand the concept. Understand why somebody is saying use this formula. Understand the concept, and then you will not have to remember the formula, and you'll be able to solve problems, and you'll be able to deliver what it is that you're supposed to deliver. Memory is useful if you're doing about history, or you have to memorize some things, the dates and events and all of those things. Then again, if you get enough sleep, there is research that says that if you study and get the right kind of sleep, retention is better. So the core of all retention, memory, and learning is to get the right kind of sleep, the right kind of exercise, the right kind of food. And before you start studying, practice the SILSA and study. Study in 45 to 60-minute blocks. Study one subject for about 45 minutes to 60 minutes, switch over to another subject or another chapter, another theme. Why? It's like going to the gym. If you exercise only one muscle, then that muscle will get very tired and it can get injured. Similarly, if you use different parts of the brain, different concepts, different subjects, then chances are that each of them, and there is more data and research that says that people who study multiple subjects in a study schedule, they retain things better. They're able to correlate better. They're able to understand concepts better. I hope that's useful for you. How do you know your own sleep time? Go to bed without an alarm. Keep a dark room and see when you wake up. Watch it for a week. In about a week or 10 days, you'll understand how much time, how much sleep you actually need, because there could be a certain backlog of sleep that you've accumulated. So give it 10 days. enough time for any backlog to get worked out. Go to bed and wake up without an alarm, right? Find out and start ensuring that after 6:30 in the evening that the lights in the house are dimmed. You don't have bright lights. Stay away from screens. Read books, right? And no watching television or Netflix or Prime or whatever it is, right? At least 90 minutes before you want to go to sleep, 60 minutes at least. Go to bed without an alarm. Watch when you wake up for a week or 10 days. That will tell you how much time you actually normally wake up. There was an experiment that was done, and people were put in a room where they could not see what was going on outside. No natural light was coming in. And there were no clocks. There were no devices where they could find time. And they found out that generally people went to bed at about 8 o'clock in the evening, 8 to 9, between 8 and 9, they went to bed and they started sleeping between 8:30 and 9:30. And they normally woke up anytime between 4:30 and 5:30. So this is a study that was done. And so you can find out what it is for yourself by experimenting and finding out when do you wake up without an alarm. You have an examination for 3 hours, you can't do anything. You better be there for 3 hours, right? Right. So you need to practice. You'll need to practice sitting and working. Make it tougher when you're practicing for those exams. So a 3-hour exam, in your mind, give yourself only 2 hours and 45 minutes and practice with that. And then make it 2.5 hours, right? So you become better at it. But sitting, you have to sit, Unfortunately, you can't say I'll need a standing desk and I'll write and all of those things. That unfortunately doesn't work. So you'll need to manage that. But that's an exception rather than the rule. And your ability to sit for 3 hours also becomes better if you have not sat down for so long and, made the parts of the body weaker. So I hope that's useful for you, Arvi. So the next question. What is the next question? How to breathe properly? Through the nose. Make sure that your nostrils and your nasal passages and your sinuses are kept healthy. Jalneti helps. Hydration, keeping it, I'm going to say something that people might not like, trimming too much of the nasal hair is not very useful. Trimming too much of the nasal hair is not very useful. Why? Because the hair has a purpose. It cleans. It also corrects the temperature of the breath that is going in. It moistens. There are, small hair-like things in the entire nasal cavity. So breathing properly is to breathe only through the nostrils. Practice. At night, put a small surgical tape. You don't need to put it forever, because once you train yourself to breathe through the nose in a month and a half to maximum 3 months, you will not need it because you will get used to breathing through your nostrils. Breathe rhythmically and evenly. So like I said, you don't need to, you can find 1 minute for every hour that you breathe with awareness. 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold. Practice that for 1 minute, 4 cycles every hour, 1 minute. And slowly it will become the norm. Alrighty, I think we are coming up to 3:30, and Mrs. Madan has also logged in. She's there for her next session. Namaskaram. And
Chinu, can you just display that last slide, please? The happiness slide at the end.
hold on, I will.
It's a namaskaram, Chinu. My video, I cannot switch on because the host is
No
muted
worry,
it.
no worry. ma'am.
So otherwise, it's okay. I met you, I think, 15 years ago.
Is this the one that you wanted, Sumana?
The one before this, the DNA ladder kind of thing. Prior to this, yeah, this one.
If you're happy, you have great attitude, you're resourceful, you're liked and inspired and supported, and then you achieve everything that you want to, and that enhances your confidence, and you set larger goals, and that makes you more purposeful, happy, and that's the upward spiral.
Okay.
The reverse of that is this. I'm unhappy, I'm negative, people don't want to be around me, they don't want to support me, I don't achieve much, I lose confidence, I set smaller goals, I feel not good about myself, I'm more unhappy, more upset. Life is not very nice. It's a choice. And that's why this statement is so true.
So the cause is the purpose, right? Because everybody chooses to be happy, nobody wants to be unhappy, right? So,
Sumana, let's not talk about everybody.
okay.
Let's talk about the only person that we have a semblance of control over.
That's myself.
Right? Ask yourself the questions. If I am focused on being happy, am I doing things that are aligned with these things? Am I doing any of these things? Which, am I on the slide or am I on the ladder? Which place do I have a breakdown, if at all, right?
Right.
Where do I have a breakdown? Here, if you look at this, where am I? What is the root cause of all of this? And nothing in life. This is what has happened. What is the point in me doing it? Then the past is going to repeat itself. If I want something I've not had before, I have to do something I haven't done before. Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result is insanity.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chinu.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I wish you health, happiness, peace, fulfillment, joy in everything that you do. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here and to walk along with you on this in this period of time. Thank you very much. And again, once again, best wishes for Women's Day. To me, every day is Women's Day, every day is Man's Day, every day is everybody's day. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chinu. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely hearing you, Chinu, after ages.
My pleasure.
You all for having logged in, and now we have our next speaker, Ms. Uma Madan, who is a special interest counselor, and she's also a healer, and she does training on spirituality, and this is going to be something which is going to be the last session for today. But yes, the spiritual aspect is going to be covered now. So please stay online, keep it interactive, and yes, over to you, Miss Uma. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Yes. Good afternoon. At least one reply in good afternoon, please.
Good afternoon.
That's good. See, life is full of going and coming, giving and receiving. So if it is a monologue, and if it's going to be only my voice, I'm going to be hearing for the rest of the around 2 hours, it's going to be pretty boring. I do realize that most of you have been possibly here since morning. So what I'm going to do now is, the topic is spiritual well-being. You had the physical, you had the emotional and social, I think. And now we come to the spirit, which is the generally the least understood, because we have always felt that it is very different. Something outside, something different. You know, what is spirituality? What is spirituality? Is it a religion, rituals, yoga, chanting, reading the scriptures, pilgrimage, satsang, pranayam? It is all of this and some of this for all the people or some people. It all depends. But what spirituality actually is becomes more relevant in all these areas which I just listed, without which the spirit isn't going to be alive. And I'm sure each one of you has gone through that, you know, because when your body is fine, your mind is listening to you, but your spirit is not willing, or your spirit is willing, but the body isn't bending to what you're doing. And the mind is running away in all, you know, different directions. What is it that I need to do first? You know what they say about two most important needs of every human being: to love and to be loved. To love and to be loved. And the second need is to contribute. This is what spirituality is all about. Because from the moment you're born up to the moment you leave, you're looking for something all the time. You're seeking something, you're running after something, scattering oneself. All that is fine and normal, because we have to grow only through that. But how are we doing it is what makes it spiritual, and what we call spirituality. And believe me, spirituality is total: body, mind, and spirit. Now that you have had a lot of talk regarding the body and mind, let me ask you a question. What is it that every human being wants, other than to love and to be loved and to contribute, when you are doing something, whatever it is, whether you're cooking, whether you are learning a language, or whether you are, achieving some target? We all would love to be the best, to give the best, to do the best, and to be the best. What stops us from getting there? Shall I tell you a small story? It's a true story, actually. I don't know how many of you are old enough to have heard of, or young enough to have heard of Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, the world-known, renowned boxer who just passed away a couple of years ago, I think. When Muhammad Ali was training, he wanted to be the best. And when he went for coaching at the age of, I think, 16 or 17, the coach asked him, "What do you want to be?" That's the first question that the coach asked him. He didn't start the coaching, and he did not move into all kinds of teaching. What he asked was, what do you want to be, Ali? And Muhammad Ali replied, I want to be the best. And he became the best. So why am I telling you this story? See, this is a major thing that I have found when, especially I take a lot of life skills sessions for students, 2022. We're all raring to go in life. I tell them the story and I tell them that, yes, it's perfectly right and normal and necessary to want to be the best. But the one thing that Muhammad Ali did not say after that was that I want to be the only best. That is when the issue starts. If you want to be the only best, then the competition starts. You're under a lot of stress because you're always looking at someone who's doing better and wanting to be better. So that's one of the things that spirituality does for you if you go on the path is it helps you to become content. It helps you to be who you are at that present moment. It helps you to achieve to the best of your capacity at that moment. Because see, look at yourselves now. 1 year ago, where you were. 3 years ago, where you were. 5 years ago, where you were. And where you are now. You have evolved. You have grown. You have learned and progressed. Not because you're competing with someone else, but because you want to do the best. You want to feel good about yourself. And you want to achieve a lot of things, which is normal and natural and perfectly fine. But one of the things in spirituality is to be content at every point of time. You have done this today to the best of your ability. And as Chinu said, that is one of the things that we keep reiterating, refreshing, that it is important to live in the present moment. And the present moment is gone. It's over. The present becomes the past this fast. So if you want to be spiritually alive, you will need to be in the present moment only because when that moment passes into the past, you have absolutely no regret and no guilt then. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is the reason. Because see, and I'm sure whatever I say will be more of a repetition because the morning two very good speakers have given you a lot. But these things need to be repeated again and again and again for us to emotionally connect with and to hold it in our memory and most important, to practice it. Because as someone asked about procrastination, spirituality also is a victim of that. We procrastinate and say, it's okay, yeah. I mean, I know I have to do this, I have to do that, and I need to be on that path to be happy always. But, so what happens is, this is the reason why we have to keep listening to a whole lot of things again and again and again. Because somewhere, someday, it just bangs into ourselves. And you know, here I need to digress a small bit and tell you about how we imbibe knowledge of anything. Knowledge, whether it is about your academics, whether it is about your career, whether it is about what you like to do, whether it's about your recipes, anything, everything is knowledge. But at a spiritual level, the knowledge is all to do with who you are. And you know something very interesting it is. This is called in Sanskrit, Chatushta Anubandhana. Chatur is 4. Anubandhana is something that brings and holds things together. So what has been said is that when you are listening, Shravana, in Shravana, you get 25% of the knowledge. How much? Just 25%. The teacher, the speaker will be giving you 100%. And you may be listening 100% according to you. But the knowledge that is retained therein is only 25% because that is the way the brain functions and the mind accepts. 25% only again if you listen, not just if you hear. See, hearing is part of the physical. Listening is something that is deeper. So you are aligning yourself with what is being said. That knowledge comes to you 25%. And the next 25% comes when you do manana. Manana. Take it into your mind and chew and chew and chew and chew. You know, like the cow chewing the cud again and again and again to make it digestible for it. We need to do manana with the knowledge that has been given and with the knowledge that we have retained. It is perfectly all right that only 25% has come. Let us hold that 25% with a lot of respect and start contemplating on it. Start looking at it from within. Start relating it to our lives. Start relating it to the outside world. Start moving it a little more into yourself. So Shravana is 25%, Manana is 25%. So 50% of knowledge you already have. That's wonderful. Now, what about the next 25%? That comes when you discuss, when you dialogue with like-minded people, when you speak with people, when you brainstorm with people about this 50% of knowledge that has come to you now. So now how much is over? 75%. Now comes the tricky part. The last 25% comes to you only with time. When you are ripe and ready for that knowledge to become complete within you, it just happens. It just comes. Whatever it is, however small the issue, however big the issue on hand regarding knowledge, whatever it is that you're looking for, it is amazing. You know, you have to experience it to really feel that joy when something just finally falls. It's like the eureka moment, you know. But to get to the eureka moment, did Archimedes get his eureka in a second? He was just in the bathtub, but he was in a bathtub every day, having a bath, hopefully. But why did it happen on that specific day? Because he had been in research for ages and ages and ages. And now he was ready. The inner, deeper, the spiritual part of Archimedes was ready for the final 25% of the knowledge and eureka. The same thing happened with Newton. Do you think he was just sitting there and the apple fell and he got that enlightenment? No. He went through struggles, failures, fell, got up, was ridiculed. Everything possible happened. But he held on. And then the moment, here it's very important, you know, for you to understand one thing. That is, both of them, and most of who get this enlightenment or whatever the answer to their questions, are relaxed when it happens. They are not running. They are not under stress when it happens. All the stress happens when you are moving towards something. Yes, you are learning coping skills. You're not able to cope. You're falling down. You're bruised. You're hurt. You give up. You go backward. Everything happens. But then do not give up. That is spirituality. Because the spirit is always wanting to hold you up. The body and mind are the vehicles. The spirit is saying, Chalo, come on. So that spirituality, please, please cultivate. This is one of the very popular things I tell my students since 40 years. Because when we are having the sessions and I give them some inputs and guidelines and they say, how, ma'am? No, ma'am, we just can't, ma'am. We are in a hostel, ma'am. So why should we have so many problems to deal with? So one of the first things I say is, did anyone tell you since you were born up to this day that life was going to be easy or fair according to you? And they say, no. So I tell them, what is it that you're looking for? A life? Ma'am, don't want any problems. Ma'am, don't want any issues. I want to be able to, do everything that is supposed to be done in college, get high marks, get into a very good, job and etc., etc. I said, all this will happen. Oh, you should see the smile on those students' faces. Yes, ma'am. I said, of course. But before that, I want to ask you a question, I tell them. When you go to a hospital to visit a patient who is in the ICU, and you are allowed because you're a very close relative with all the precautions, and you go there, just as you walk in, you happen to see the ECG. And that is showing a straight line. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that the person is no more, not alive. So I always ask the student, why do you want your life to be a straight line with no problems, no highs and lows? Then you are not alive even while being alive. You're only existing. So see, the whole thing about life is the ups and downs. Till we learn to cope, the valleys and peaks will be very sharp. Very, very sharp. But as you learn to cope, as you learn to know yourself, which is the basis of spirituality, as you learn to look at yourself as you are and accept, understand, become more aware of yourself, those waves will be like the ones on a very calm day in the ocean. You've seen that, right? You've seen oceans when they are turbulent, such high waves, and you've seen oceans when you go to the beach, so calm, so gentle, so soft. You feel so soothed by just the look of it. This is a very important lesson to learn at a spiritual level, that life is to be lived, not just to exist. And it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, in what kind of a position you are, role you are. That's not the point. The point is, are you living right now? And what shows you are alive? We say, na, oh, that person is so alive. That person, the moment he or she walks in, the whole atmosphere changes and the energy changes, and you feel very, very, like, chalo, let's sit up straight. So that is the kind of energy you need to exude. And for that to happen, you have to remember what the two speakers in the morning have said to you. Spirituality doesn't stand alone. It is in totality the body, mind, and spirit. So how do we cope with stress? This is the major question everywhere. Stress management, stress management. I don't know if you can manage stress. You have to learn to cope with it. And a certain amount of stress is very required. Because without that, without a little bit of pressure, we wouldn't even be able to put the next step forward. There's a certain amount of stress required for everything. Now, you need to understand how much stress you're able to take right now. Right now, the amount of stress that you can cope with needs to be understood by you, needs to be understood. And for that, you will have to move into certain ways of looking at who you are right now. The major issue I have found is that we all want happiness, but on a permanent level, forever. I want to be happy forever. And long term, if not at least for the next 3 years, please give me that happiness now. Why all this sukha, dukha, dukha, sukha, sadness, happiness, sadness? A little bit longer. We're all asking for that. The very interesting aspect about the human being is that we are the only ones who have been given the mind. We are the only ones who have been given the mind. Every other living being is not endowed with the mind and its plus, plus, plus. But the mind means choices. Choices means conflicts. Conflicts means unhappiness. The divine who gave you that mind, which gives you the choices and so the conflicts, has also given you something else to counter it. And that is the intellect, the buddhi, which has the discriminating powers. So how are you going to make these choices? One of the very beautiful things that I heard during a course of a Swadhyaya on Bhagavad Gita, drop all irrelevant concepts from your life. Drop all irrelevant concepts from your life. What are the irrelevant concepts? Well, you should know. Whatever you are holding on. See, most of us, especially in my generation, we've had to unlearn a whole lot of things before we could learn something. Because we were governed by the rules of hundreds of things. Unwritten laws laid down by the family, by the neighborhood, by the community, by the society in the city, by the society at large, by the world opinions. 120 things we had to contend with. But it was okay because we learned a lot of things along the way. But the problem was, when those concepts became irrelevant, we had no idea that we were still holding on. So this is why awareness of yourself is very important. To be able to know what it is, like what Chinu said, what is it that is blocking you? What is it that is holding you back from moving ahead, whether it is just to keep up your discipline of sadhana, maybe yoga or walking or gymming or whatever that is that your body needs. It is no longer just a fad. It is a very, very basic and extremely important need for the body today to have some form of exercise, and for the mind to be able to hold its emotions and feelings within itself in the hands of the person you are, not giving it up to the mind. A whole lot of discipline is required. You know, when you are doing your yoga, see, these are very small things I'm going to be talking about today, but which make an amazing lot of difference to who you are, to be able to throw out concepts, because you've never been taught. For example, I don't know, maybe you've already heard it, but it doesn't hurt to, reiterate it. When you're doing a stretch, it is supposed to be a stretch exercise, not just holding the hand up. You're supposed to stretch. See, I'm just holding my hand now. But when I stretch from the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, up to the fingertips. You know, it's very interesting that I learned this at the age of 50, because I had gone through life in school and college just doing the drill, if the master is looking, you do a little more, otherwise you just do this. Never bothered. A young girl of 20 taught me when I was doing an advanced course in meditation, where we always have yoga. She, for the first time and only time I have heard a teacher saying this, and she's a 20-year-old yoga teacher. She showed and she said, hold the stretch and relax. That is spirituality. Holding the stretch, relaxing and reposing in that pose is spirituality. You are in touch with your deepest core. That is what spirituality is about. So whatever you are doing, this is for the body, yoga, exercise, whatever you're doing, but don't overdo it, because we see a lot of issues coming up thanks to, they say overdoing things in the gym and places. Even in yoga, when you take that stretch one by one from each joint to the next, you are not pushing it. You are gently moving it to its goal. And then nothing really bothers. So please, please remember that spirituality is not just something to do with God, something to do with this and that, something to do with the space, and it is to do with everything. And so in totality, you must look at your body first, because I have to go layer by layer. And when you come to the mind, the breath, I'm telling you, we have totally not learned, didn't want to learn, whatever you may call it, how to breathe right. You don't have to do any pranayam techniques if you learn to breathe right 24/7. But since we have forgotten, we have never bothered to learn, or been indifferent to it, or been lazy about it, whatever the reason, if we are not doing it, that is when we need techniques to push us into different ways so that we don't get bored. And then the body slowly starts taking it up, and the mind says, okay, so she wants to do this. It's a very, very important aspect also to understand that we all have very, very, very busy lives. And you must remember that the mind does not listen to anything when you talk about long term or a permanency. It will immediately strike it down The moment you say, I want to start yoga today, and I want to do it for at least 1 year, you are doomed. The mind is so highly intelligently clever. It will say, you wake up in the morning and it says, Are you're going to do it for a year, na? Today, just go to sleep. It's okay, yaar. One day, if you miss, nothing will happen. Khatam kalas, natak band. So don't ever give your mind anything which is too long term. Because our mind has become used to that. We have not held it from when we were young. So you cannot expect to hold it now all of a sudden. So give it short-term goals. You have long-term goals, but tell the mind, tomorrow morning, I will be doing my yoga for 10 minutes. Or wake up in the morning, this is even better, and say, I am going to do my yoga for 10 minutes today. And the mind is caught because you have been more intelligent now. The mind says, okay, actually, see, she wants to do it just for 10 minutes today. Chalo yaar, let her be. Let her do it. So every day, if you do this, for a mandala, they say, or for even 21 days continuously. You know, I don't know how many of you have read that book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. How many of you have read it? Any hands up? Robin Sharma. Are you all able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we are able to hear you.
Okay, because there was so much silence and I was wondering, see, many times the net just freezes because I don't see you all. I don't know if you all are frozen thanks to my Wi-Fi. Thank you so much, Shreya. So the mind needs very short-term goals. Do it. As I was saying, Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari says that it is scientifically proven that a new neural pathway is formed when you continue to do anything for 21 days without stopping. 21 days you continue to do. He says it's scientifically proven now that this, whatever you're learning, whether it's music or a language or some knowledge point or something else, a new neural pathway is formed in the brain. And so that becomes a habit. This is how we have all learned hundreds of habits, right? Right from brushing our teeth to everything else. There's something in the brain that is steady and sure. So learn to do something over a period of time, short time. See, many times we are caught up for time in the mornings or in the evenings, whenever we wish we could do something. I tell my students always this, we are in the hostel, ma'am. We cannot get up so early, ma'am, and we have to rush, ma'am. So I tell them, okay, can you spare 5 minutes? And they laugh. What can we do in 5 minutes, ma'am? What will happen? I said, can you spare? They say, yeah. And I said, start from tomorrow. For the next 21 days, just 5 minutes of yoga. 5 minutes, whatever the asanas. But do it 100%. Stretch, whatever. Don't give up. 21 days, mark it on the calendar. Exactly 5 minutes, put the alarm on your mobile and do it. You know what happens to the mind? When you have done it for 1, 2, 3 days, it begins to enjoy it. And then the mind says, why don't you stretch it for another 5 minutes? See, it's so important to understand spirituality. I have to understand what the body needs and says, what the mind needs and says, to be able to merge it and hold that spirituality. how do you know somebody is spiritual? Not because they're following something and, doing this, that. But as I said, the moment they walk in, they're exuding a lot of very positive energy. And they are looking at everyone with so much of love, I would say, so much of respect, so much of belongingness. That is spirituality. But to get there, to be joyful, to be enthusiastic, to be interested in whatever you're doing, even if it is just, cutting your nails. You know how interesting it is if you put your heart and mind 100% into cutting your nails. You start looking at the whole part, the toe or the finger and the tip and that moon, crescent moon there, and then you are suddenly becoming aware of that part of you, which you have taken for granted. Right then, you are functioning in your spirit, not just cutting your nails at the body level. This is what is spirituality. 100% in the present moment. You expand. You expand. You don't shrink. That is a sign of spirituality. You really expand and you feel good. Not expand in the way of gaining weight. No, then I don't think any of us would ever go into spirituality. But in the sense of expanding our energy, feeling, yeah, I belong and everything and everybody belongs to me and I feel good. I feel happy in this situation. But for this to happen, you need to come into awareness. What is awareness? To be seeing something almost 360 degrees of it in totality. To know, really know something. To be in awareness of anything that you're doing without something else disturbing that work, the body and mind and spirit being in that one thing. And the moment you build your awareness, a whole lot of intuition kicks in. You heard of intuition, right? What we call the gut feeling at the physical level. All of us have experienced it sometime or the other. Sometimes you just think of someone and that person calls. Telepathy, we call it. Okay. So these are all things that come from deep inside us, which connect, because we are all, the whole universe, the whole world, every human being, thing around us is interconnected and so interdependent. This is why when we isolate ourselves, we are unable to be happy. The more you expand yourself in your thinking, in your feeling, in your acting, to include more things in your embrace, the larger your repertoire of happiness. And for that, you don't have to go around doing seva to the whole world. Whatever you're doing, do it 100%. And a lot of students ask me, we don't have time for seva. We would love to do service to this, to that, to that. It is not necessary to do service in a big way, in a highlighted way. What is important is, today, you just go outside, right? You need to do something. You go out of your house and someone is coming along the way. How much does it take to give a small smile of recognition of the other person as a human being? You don't need to know the whole world to smile at them. This is just an acknowledgement that someone is coming in front of you and you're acknowledging their presence. But ma'am, nobody smiles back at us. This is an amazingly common response I get when I tell them. I'm not asking you to grin and go and embrace them. No, all I'm saying is you just give a small smile and walk on. Do not wait. The problem is when you're expecting something, if you don't get it, you're disappointed. So don't expect anything. Give a smile and walk on. That is seva. Because whether you know it or not, that smile could make a lot of difference to that person's life on that day at that moment. We are not aware of half the things because we cannot be, but let us be aware of who we are. I can smile, just a small smile. Someone comes, a vendor comes, a Swiggy comes, somebody comes. We open the door and yeah, okay. Look at the person. Thank you. How much time does it take to do that? That is seva. Because you're giving something without expecting anything. You're giving a smile and a thank you without expecting him to feel obliged to say this or that. And many times I've caught these people, delivery people just looking up, because otherwise they are so engrossed in their work, just looking up with such a surprise. And that's a sad day. If you want to be living in spirituality, in your spirit, these are all that you need to keep in mind. Nothing big shakes at all. Nothing big shakes at all. And know that you have the power. You are Shakti. Today is Women's Day. Oh, I forgot to wish every Shakti incarnation here a very happy day. And every day is your day. And to the men present, thank you for being with us, supporting us, complimenting us in our lives. It's a very important factor to know that one day is not the day. Just as Chinu said, I too don't believe in these concepts of this day, that day. So one day you remember the women and the rest of the days you bash them up and it's okay, is it? No, it's not. Every day is our day, everybody's day. Whether it's a man, woman, child, old, whether it's an animal, bird, every day is their day. Because we don't know the next day what's going to happen. So today, well lived is all that is required. Plan, yes. Organize, even execute the plan. But, thank you. But, thank you, TIE. But remember that whatever you do, the moment you hold on to your spirit, when you're in the spirit and functioning, there will be enthusiasm for anything. As I said, even for just cutting your nails, you will not do it as a mundane task. It's not going to take you more than 1 second more to cut your nails if you look at it 100%. You're not going to be wasting your time, which is what we are constantly thinking. But you're going to be living in your spirit. You go out. Suddenly, a huge gust of wind blows, which is what is happening in Bangalore these days now. And there's some dust that is moving around, and doing that, just hold your hands like this and very slowly look at the dust moving, the patterns that you can see. Have you ever seen that? It's amazing, and it takes you hardly a minute to do that. But we are in a hurry. This factor of time holds us in such a tight fist that we are all the time running. Take time off. Give yourself space. It's very important. And believe me, you can change. You can change. I'll tell you something just came up as I was talking to someone this morning. I had a session this morning. And this amazing it is. When my children were young at that time, and I had a maid, every day she would come looking haggard, not at all anywhere near happy. And her hair would be, scattered like this. And she would be wearing some blouse and some sari, and that face would be drawn and no kumkum, or it would be smudged, and terrible grooming. So I said, okay. She had just come new. I said, okay, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, I put up with it. On the 4th day, I said, and her name was Lakshmi. On the 4th day, I called her and asked her, what is happening that you are coming like this for work? Do you know what it does to us to see you like this? And you are so disinterested in the work. You're a good worker, but there is absolutely no spirit, no enthusiasm, no joy, no interest. And she said, no, Ma, every day my husband beats me up. So I said, okay, so what do you do? She said, what can I do? I take it. Whole night it is like that. I cry and cry myself to sleep. I hardly get sleep. I have to wake up in the morning and cook for the children and then rush for work. So I said, okay, shall I tell you something? Will you do? She was a little wary what this Amma is going to say. I told her, tonight, when he lifts up his hand to hit you, you just hold it. Hold his hand at the wrist and hold it as tight as you can. You should have seen the shock on her face. Amma, how can I do it? She says in Tamil. I said, why? You don't have the strength? The strength I have, but I said, what but? He's my husband. So who told you that you cannot hold his hand if he's coming to hit you? No, Ma, I don't think that is done. I said, done by who? And then she looked at me. She said, you think I can really do it? I said, you have to make up your mind. I'm not asking you to hit him back. All I'm saying is defend yourself. She said, I can do that. I said, yeah, just hold his hand. And you're telling me that he's drunk. So he will not be able to stand up against you. And look him in the eyes, I said. She was not fully convinced, but some hope she seemed to have. Anyway, I told her, see, it's up to you. If you want a change in your life, you have to change the situation. Believe me, I was stumped when she came home the next morning. She was so well groomed, oiled her hair into a beautiful bun, a big bindi, kumkum, and she wore a lovely, pretty cotton sari with a matching blouse. And the best part was she had a beautiful smile on her face. And the joy I could see on her face, that, I could see that change, that I'm in charge of my life. And then I said, Lakshmi, inniki nee Lakshmi madriye tarke. I said, you are looking just like Goddess Lakshmi today. So beautiful. She was so shy. Then I said, what happened? She said, Amma, I did what you told me to. And he just looked at me. He was shocked. He just, his eyes went down. He just loosened his grip, went to sleep. And this morning he woke up. Quietly, he did whatever he needed to do. And quietly, without a word, drank whatever I gave him and quietly went out and said, I'm going for my work. So from that day, she changed. See, this is what spirituality does for you. It gives you that assurance that you can. No matter what it is, stresses will come, tensions will come, worries will come, anxieties will come, panic attacks will come. Big deal. Pull it all down to your level and say, okay, so what do I do now? That is spirituality. That is spirituality. See, let's not be like these. I remember another very interesting, I'm not sure if it's very relevant, but I'm just remembering it. You know, the Vietnam War that happened, America and Vietnam. And at the end of it, there were a lot of Americans who were captured and prisoners of war. And they were all in a rehabilitation because one part of that rehabilitation was for those, many of them had lost part of their hemispheres in the shelling. Some their right hemispheres, some their left hemispheres. And it's very interesting, this, you must understand this. Those who had lost their left hemispheres were having a very normal, happy time. They were singing, they were talking with people, they were learning something, they were doing crossword puzzles. They kept themselves going with a lot of interest. But those who had lost their right hemispheres had a lot of issues because it was a logical brain that they were left with. So when one day an interview, a media journalist went to interview them, and he asked these people, let us say the person with the right brain intact, his name starts with R. So he said, R, how do you feel? Yeah, I feel fine. I feel fine. I'm happy. I'm enjoying doing crossword puzzles right now. When the same question was put to this prisoners of war who had only the right brain intact, how do you feel? He said, I feel with my fingers. You see what has happened here? The feeling, the literal feeling is what he's talking about. Why did this come to my mind just now? I'm not sure, but I'm sure there is a reason for it, because I believe that everything comes for a reason. Because we all have our left and right hemispheres intact. Each one of us has a dominant hemisphere, yes, but that doesn't mean you allow the other hemisphere to just go to sleep. Wake it up. Do things which that hemisphere needs. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to excel in it. See, the moment you're able to blend, as Chinu said, not balance, he said, but blend, merge, become one. The moment you're able to see this in that and that in this, you are spiritual. You have reached that stage where you have moved, what we call evolved. So why are we not looking at these factors? Because we are not thinking about these. We are not hearing about these as many times as we need to. That's why I said it's like refresher programs that teachers have. We need to have these kind of programs that TIIE has organized today so that we catch up. See, one more thing, please remember, there's so much to share with you. I don't know where to start, where to stop, because spirituality is the whole cosmos, the whole universe. See, the whole thing is about holding yourself and saying, so what do I do next? What is it I want? If you want to lose weight, do it. Do it, not You will not lose weight by thinking about it, by feeling bad about it, by not eating enough of what you need. No, not that way. You have to feel the need to think positively. Don't say, I need to lose weight. Say, I want to be able to run a marathon. I want to be able to keep my heart in shape. I want to be healthy. I want to be active. I want to feel good. I want to be enthusiastic about life. And then a whole lot of things will happen. And then it will not matter whether your weight is 40, 50, 60, or 70. If you can be active and you can be healthy, then the weight in itself is just a number, just as the age is. Spirituality is not about something enlightenment happening to you sitting under a tree. It is about enlightenment happening to you in this very moment about yourself. So it's about an hour now. Would Shreya, would they need a small break or something? Or we continue?
No, we can continue.
We can continue.
Yes, please.
Okay, okay. Then I would actually like to take you all on a small meditation. Are you all okay with it? Hello? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Please respond.
Yeah, because I know, I think what happens is half the time, this is one of the things about Zoom, na? So we are allowed to switch off and on. So it's okay. I mean, I don't need a major response, but I just asked because, as I said, I like to have interactive sessions. So what I would like you to do now is sit comfortably. Whether it's on the ground, on the chair, on the cot, whether you're sitting cross-legged, it doesn't matter. Sit comfortably in a very, very comfortable posture. Observe your breath. Observe your breath. Allow it to become rhythmatic. Deep, normal, long breath in. Slow, normal breath out. Relax your head. Relax your face. Relax your neck and shoulders. Relax your back. Relax your chest and stomach. Relax your thighs, calf muscles. Relax your feet. Relax your whole body. Relax your whole body. Continue to breathe in and out. The incoming breath energizes the body, and the outgoing breath relaxes the body. As you breathe in, imagine the breath moving to every cell in your body healing it. Any part of the body that has any problems of health, move the incoming breath to that part and say, be healed. Feel the healing happening through the breath. And as you breathe out all the pain, all the discomfort from the body. This body is a divine gift. We need to honor it. Feel gratitude because this is the only vehicle you have in this lifetime to enjoy your life, to achieve all that you want to be who you want to. Be grateful to it and see that you extend this gratitude by taking proper care of the body, hereafter at least. Deep breath in and breathe out. This is the first layer that is visible and has a form and is finite, your physical body. From this body, as you breathe in, move into your breath, the prana. Observe your breath. Breathe in through the nostrils, going to the throat, the chest, and to your navel. Breathe out from the navel to the chest, throat, and out through the nostrils. This is one round of normal, healthy, proper breathing. Notice if there are any jerks in the breath, in any part. Notice if your breath is going too fast. Observe everything about your breath. The more you breathe deeply and exhale slowly, emptying your lungs completely, the healthier will every part of your body be. Breathe in and out. Feel the beautiful rhythm of the body as you breathe in and out. As the breath becomes steady, you will find that your body becomes more and more still, and your mind becomes more and more calm. Take a deep, long, normal breath in and breathe out. Now, as you breathe in, move from the breath to your mind. The mind is not centered in the brain as we used to think when we were young. The mind is energy, and energy is present all over the body, inside and outside. Observe your mind. Is it continuing to chatter now? Is it feeling anything? Is it conveying something to you? What is happening at the mind level right now? Is it more calm than it was yesterday? Is it more calm than it was when you started the session this morning? Or is it more restless? Observe whatever is and accept. The moment choices are given by the mind, unless we accept and say, I will look into this, there will be conflicts. Remove the feelings from the thinking, and you will not have conflicts. Be aware that your emotional mind takes you on a roller coaster ride for the very smallest of experiences. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, move into the next layer. The intellect, buddhi, the divine plan which gave the mind with the ego and choices, has also given the intellect with the discriminative abilities. Are you going to allow the ego to take charge, or are you going to make your choices based on your wisdom, which means you will prioritize your choices? When you make the right priorities, decision making is very easy. Remember this about your mind and the intellect. The intellect holds knowledge which is understandable and comprehensible by a human. Another long, deep breath in. As you breathe out, move on to that part which is the core of your self, the deepest part of you, deep inside you. There is a power, there is infinite love, energy, unconditional divine energy, no matter what you call it. Even if you do not believe in a God, you do believe that there is something that makes you move ahead. That is the power which we call divine. Sit in that space comfortably within you. As you breathe deep in and out, repose, relax, rest in that place which belongs only to you. This is the spirit, the self. And when you reach this space, you can move towards merging with the bigger cosmic consciousness, which we call the divine. This is your sanctuary. This is your power space. This is your strength. All the energy present here is yours for the asking. This is spirituality and spiritual well-being, taking the entire body, mind, and the self together. You can visit this place any time you want. When you're feeling low, when you need to cope, when you don't know how to cope, when you don't know what to do, just go into yourself by deep breathing in and out, just for a few minutes. When you come out of it, you will find your solution. Because this is also the space of intuitive ability. You just need to hold it and touch base with it every time you need to cope. Believe in who you are, not in who you should become to achieve what you want. Achieve everything by accepting yourself, by understanding yourself, by knowing that every human being is perfect and imperfect, has all the opposite qualities within. The moment you accept yourself, you are ready for the next step of action. Take another deep breath in and breathe out. See yourself in totality as a spiritual being who is in human form. Enjoy every part of yourself, every aspect of yourself. Honor and respect yourself. Love begins with loving oneself enough to accept all the negatives along with the positives. And when you accept yourself, people see that glow and they come to you with love. You don't need to demand love or expect love. And automatically, you start contributing towards the joy, peace, and happiness of yourself and of others. This is spiritual well-being. Another deep breath in and breathe out. Take another normal long breath in. And as you breathe out, become aware of your body, your surroundings, the room you're in, the chair you're sitting on, everything around you. Another deep breath in and breathe out. Take another long, normal, deep breath in. As you breathe out, very, very slowly, gradually, you may open your eyes. With a heart full of gratitude. Is it possible to have the videos on for a minute? Unless it's very difficult for you all. Thank you, Raksha.
Thank you.
Because after this, I would like to see you and know how you have felt. You went through the meditation?
Yes, ma'am, I did. It was so relaxing, actually. Felt really fresh.
Good. That's exactly what any meditation does, provided we are able to allow ourselves to move into it. And time you are under stress, just take 5 minutes off and go deeper into yourself, breathing in and out. Just deep breathing. You'll have to mute yourself because there's a lot of background noise. Yeah. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share? Any questions? Yes, Savita. I can see the...
I'm
Yes.
yeah, ma'am. I almost fell asleep. I hope that's okay.
No, you see, this happens.
Relaxing and kind of
Yes.
drifting off to sleep.
Yes, yes. That relaxation is when you touch base with your deepest self. And so automatically, many times the body is tired, it goes to sleep. That's perfectly all right. The thing is, this is what it is to do with spirituality and our well-being. We need to find that space within 5 minutes. You know what I used to do when I used to go to a forum of MBA college for counseling and lectures. Sometimes I would have to keep doing, sessions after sessions without a break. So I would just, I knew my energy was flagging. So I would just say, excuse me for 5 minutes, go to the washroom, take a couple of deep breaths, do some basic pranayam like Bhastrika, get back the energy and come back. So this is something we need to hold as a part of our daily routine, to know that any time you are under stress, any time you feel you can't cope and the problem is too huge, learn to bring the intensity of that emotion down. Only then can you think. Otherwise, you're only in that total, feeling. So the moment you're able to think, because I always say, if a problem has come from within you, the solution is also within you. It's just that when you're inside the problem, it's very tough to see the solution. So that is why we need to relax, bring the breath back to normal, bring the body to restfulness, the mind to more be calm, and then the spirit works.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Sumana. Thank you. Yes, Aruhi? I see the hand there. Oh, maybe it's okay. It is actually not. Anyone else?
Arohi says it's been very relaxing.
Yeah, I understand, because that is the whole idea. The whole idea of moving into your deeper self. And this is just one of the countless techniques and ways of meditation processes that we have. This is something I did because talking about spirituality, we have to get to the core of ourselves. And to get to that core, I have to go through the body, the mind. All that becomes a block in moving ahead. All that can become a block, I have to move slowly out of and touch base.
Arohi, would you want to unmute and share your experience?
Anyone else or any questions? Because I think it's been a very long day for everyone, Shreya,
Yes, ma'am.
is it okay if I close a little early?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Then I would like to actually close now with a story and a small prayer after that. Because we are talking about spirituality and how can you share your views for students preparing for competitive exams. See, I have always felt that exams are like asuras, rakshasas, which are waiting to swallow us, because we always feel that we don't know what they are going to ask, and that is why the problem. So whether it is a competitive exam or anything else, the whole idea is to start as early as you can to understand what you're going to be studying. To understand what you study needs a little longer time. Without just, knowing it by rote. Understanding what a competitive exam normally brings in the form of question papers or whatever it is. I'm not sure how it is now, whether there's a viva, whether there's interview, whatever it is. Everything requires the child, the youngster, to be confident. That's all. When you are confident that you will give your best, you will do it. The little bit of, fear, feeling afraid is actually necessary. Otherwise, we become overconfident. A little bit of that helps to push. That's why I said in the beginning, a little pressure, a little stress is very necessary for us to move ahead. But it shouldn't overwhelm us. So any exam, for example, I always say we're all going through a lot of tests and exams given by life. I think the last 2.5, 3 years of COVID have really tested us to the T. But we've all come out with quite flying colors, right? That's because a human being's capacity is amazing to be able to shift, change, cope, move, adjust, accommodate, especially when challenged. So this is the same thing for youngsters who are to write the competitive exam. The two things that have always helped me when I was helping my children with exams was, one was that I would make them do some kind of an exercise. I used to tell them, before the bell rings for you to get into the exam hall, just walk fast or just brisk walking or do some, stretch exercises. And when one of my daughters really panicked before an exam, I was there because I knew it was a tough time for her. 10 minutes before the bell rang, I made her do the Shavasana. In yoga, you have what is called Shavasana, the corpse pose, where you just completely relax. It's like Yoga Nidra in a way. So I slowly took her through from the feet up to the head and made her relax. And she did well in the exam after that because she lost that panic. It was just for 5 minutes. So she still had 5 minutes to sit down and just have a chat with me happily. And she said, now I'm not feeling scared, Ma. I know I can do it. So it's very important to know your child, to know what it is that the child is afraid of. See, majority of human beings are afraid of not performing creditably. So that pressure needs to be taken off. See, if I'm capable of getting only 70% in maths and you're pushing me to get 100, I cannot do it. But if you help me to get 75, from 70 to 75 is not a difficult jump. So as Chinu said, task analyze, break it into smaller bits and work towards achieving that, and do not expect miracles overnight. If you're preparing for a competitive exam, go step by step, sequence by sequence. Start first with looking at all that has happened in the past with competitive exams. See if anything is changing this year. Talk to people who have done it, and then make a timetable for yourself. Very important. Very important to have space. And you remember what Chinu said. Don't push the same subject again and again into the mind. Let them take a break after 35 minutes of studying, but that 35 minutes has to be concentrated effort. Take a break, go for one round, but don't make it half an hour. 10-minute break, drink something, eat something, take a couple of breaths and come back and study something else. The mind is fresh and ready for something new because then it's a challenge and it's interesting. The main thing is to understand your child's need and move accordingly. But I cannot stress the importance of exercise and breathing in achieving anything, especially in today's times. They're bombarded by the media, by all this websites and net and a whole lot of things. We can't stop it. We can only minimize it. It's an evolution, part of it. So understand the needs of your child, understand the capacity of your child, move him slowly, and let him go into the exam hall aram se, without any fear. Just a little bit, I hope the paper is good. That's all. Okay? So I really want to tell you something here, because spirituality is all about, as I said, knowing yourself. And I don't think any of us know ourselves enough at all. We are moving towards it, but there's a lot to be done. And I just would like to close with a beautiful, true story that happened a long time back. And this was a true story which happened in America. And you know, some of the stories that I read in the Reader's Digest, they just, you know, impress me so much. They are stuck in my memory forever. And this one is one of that. There was this place on the road where about 50 people had gathered around a car. And one could hear screams, and you could make out it was a lady's voice. Screams of agony, of pain. I can't bear it, kind of, you know, real screams. And there are 50, 55 people around this car. And what has actually happened is there has been an accident, and this lady's leg, the calf muscle part of it, has been caught under the front wheel of the car. And she's screaming. And what is happening all around? Nothing. Everybody is frozen or giving advice or asking questions. Did someone call the police? Did someone call the fire department? Did someone call this one, that one? And suddenly, there is a bit of a hustle in the group, because they just hear very rapid footsteps. And then they turn around and they see this Afro-American, tall and strapping guy, young. He comes, stands there, looks at the scene, goes to the car, puts his shoulder down along with his hands at the back, below the front of the car, lifts it up and yells, "Pull her out." And there is total silence. And suddenly, the frozen group gets into action and pulls her out. He puts the car down, says, "Call for an ambulance," and just walks off. In the meanwhile, yes, the ambulance has come and things are happening. But this man is just walking away from the scene. And one of the fellows in these 50-55 group runs behind him and says, hey, you can't do that and just walk away. He says, why? He says, no, I mean, what you did just now was impossible for any one person to do that. And you did it. What made you do it? And you are just moving out of it as if nothing happened. So this young guy looks straight into the eyes of this person who asked him the question and says, exactly a month and a half ago, I was in my office and I get a call saying that the floor in which I lived with my family and the top floor were on fire in the apartment block. I rushed because I knew my wife and my 2 daughters were inside. I rushed to the scene, and what did I see? The same scene that I saw today. Hundreds of people standing around. Nothing was being done. Everybody is giving advice. No one is moving to do anything. And my entire family perished in that fire. So today, when I saw the same indifference, my blood boiled and I did what I did. And then he just looked at this young man and said, man doesn't know what he can do until he has done it. So you and I also, we do not know what we can do till we take that step and do it. And that is being living in the spirit, and that is spirituality. And then your body, mind, and spirit will be in a state of well-being. Thank you all so much. We will close with a prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you all very much.